got 25 minutes. We got to go.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone.
Happy Wednesday, guys.
Happy to be here. Happy to see you. My name is Janelle Villiers. That over there is Winston Broderick, and we are your co-hosts of Say That Channel. Well, we are all about the ugly come up of entrepreneurship. So you know how you hear those stories about people who start from nothing and then have massive success? And you're like, what happened in the middle? What happens during the ugly come up? Well, that's what we're here to talk about, folks. What's the mindset you need to have? What are the challenges you need to circumvent? We are here for all of it.
Say that.
So you guys have been coming up with some great topics. And so we love the topics that we have, but we only have 25 minutes to answer the topic question of the day. And what happens when we run out of the 25 minutes? Oh,
Tell us, you know.
Well, we have you pop on over to our overtime segments with our guests there, and you can catch us on overtime on Patreon. So all of our Patreon members get access to that. You also, when you become a Patreon member, you get access to all the recordings from all of our other guests as well. So you get literally a wealth of knowledge and information there. So make sure you guys go check that out because believe me, like in your entrepreneurship journey, you want this like in your vault.
Say that.
So guys,
so many of us want to write a book, but how do you make money from it? Well, I'm really excited because I'm giving my end-to-end strategy on how to earn a lucrative income and become a best-selling author. It's all happening for free on my masterclass on Thursday, August 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Make sure you go and grab the link in the description box.
That's right. We're coming back with another masterclass. Really excited about that. The description box has the link to make sure you register. For anyone who registers today after the show, I will be sending you a copy of my book for free. Really excited to give that away as a gift. So back to the regularly scheduled programming.
Let's do it.
So today's topic is your work-life balance impacting your business?
Great question.
Great question, guys. I'm really excited because we are not going to be the only ones answering today's topic question. We have an outstanding guest today. She is a mother, a wife, but she's a culinary nutritionist. She's a public speaker. She's a CEO, an entrepreneur. Please, everybody, welcome Tami Racaniello.
Our next guest.
There she is.
Welcome in, Tami.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Winston and Janelle.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So for folks who are meeting you for the very first time, tell us how did you get into the business of being a culinary nutritionist?
Well, I got into wellness kicking and screaming, basically. It was not someplace I ever expected to be, not a space I expected to be in. But on my 40th birthday, I found myself waking up in the back of an ambulance on the way to the hospital. And my sister had died at 45. My mother had a massive stroke at 52. And here I am all of a sudden. That age is really close to those numbers, 40. And I had my little kids at home. And I said, not going to be. So I sought out to learn. I had been on a whole bunch of programs, diets, you name it. And I said, I need to learn for myself. And I started taking courses just so I can learn for me. I started, personal training, yoga, Pilates, mindset, mindfulness, everything, a Reiki master and nutrition. And I needed to, learn these. It just kept making me want to learn more. And then somebody said to me one day, wow, you look good. You seem so much calmer. What are you doing? And can you help me? Because I could use that in my life. And I was like, whoa, yeah, I can help you. I hadn't thought about it until somebody asked me that question. It was like a light bulb went off. And I was like, yes, this is my purpose. This is what I need to do in my life.
Say that.
I love that. Yeah. Especially once you find your calling and your purpose, it like changes everything. And obviously it's helping people driven by that desire to help people in this specific area. So I feel like given your background, you are the best person to answer today's question. So what's your take on it? Is your work-life balance impacting your business?
Absolutely. Because if, first of all, there's no such thing as work-life balance. In yoga, they say find ease in the pose, because the pose could never be easy all the time. Eventually going to have to adjust, shift, whatever. That's how life is. You can't put yourself into boxes and compartmentalize, where you are, because you're so many things. It's not just work. It's not just life. It's your faith. It's your family, everything that you have going on where you want to be. And it's not just that work-life balance. So it's about finding ease in the pose. It's about finding ways so you can have a good life, enjoy what you're doing, and be functional, happy, not stressed, and just make things happen that need to be happen, instead of taking on too much. Because once you start saying work-life balance, they start saying, oh, am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? Am I supposed to be doing this? And it's like you start questioning everything, because you will never have that balance. It's finding ease where you are every day, because it's going to change.
I love so I'm a big yoga person. I do yoga every day, and that really resonated with me, the idea of like finding ease in the pose, because some of the poses are super challenging. Yeah. And so to like be in them, but like find the ease, find the like, okay, my body can do this. And actually sometimes it's like, it's okay that this is feeling really uncomfortable right now. I can hold this because it's not forever, right? This is only for this moment, and then I can flow through it and move to the next pose. So that really resonates. And I feel like that, to your point about life, right? Because life is, you're flowing, right? But nothing is supposed to be like permanent. And so I think that's what a lot of people do, is either stay in one or the other, meaning like they're the hustle culture, right? Like they're staying in the hustle, and like they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know, or maybe they're even scared to get off of it, right? Like, and so they're not finding the ease in it. They're just kind of like in it.
That's how life is fluid. There's always stuff happening, going on, and you can have your schedule planned out for the whole day, and then an emergency happens and everything shifts just like that. And if you're not ready, if you're not resilient and to handle that, then that's a problem. And that could set you back for a while. So having that, it's about finding resilience, finding that ease, and kind of going with the flow of what happens. And you know what, if you have scheduling is super important. So let's say you were working out at 4:00, or you're going to the gym or going for a walk, whatever that is, and it doesn't happen, that you have that scheduled. So, hey, you don't beat yourself up. Say, all right, well, I can't do it now. When can I do it? It's not like, oh, I didn't get it done today. You didn't get it done. But it's important not to wallow in that, in the negative. It's say, okay, when can you get it done?
That's right.
That's a great way of looking at that. A lot of just to jump in, I love what you're saying, and I found, as I do personal training or I've personal trained before, and some of the things I found in terms of what you're talking about, especially when it comes to people's health, I find it interesting that I think people will make the necessary changes they have to for their jobs. I mean, bend over backwards, and it's but something you pointed out. But when it comes to their health, they're much more willing to. You guys are both just saying the analogy. I don't want to mess it up, but being that discomfort in the position, but not find an ease in that. It's almost like the discomfort is what you're expecting, so there is no expectation of ease in that. Like you'll hear how people talk about work, or you know what I mean, like, but then how we talk about vacation. There's almost like with the idea of a vacation, even though vacations can be stressful, there's this, I think, expectation of it's probably still better than work.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally get that.
But what I was asking is, when you're coaching people, how are you, like, what are the conversations like to kind of shift that? Hey, work is important, obviously, and you don't want to wait until you're in the back of an ambulance to make certain changes, that don't take anything away from work, but can maybe even enhance work. So just what are some of the conversations like with your clients?
Yeah. Well, just I was overstretched, overextended, stressed out, and didn't ask people for help. I was a caregiver for my mom who had the stroke, and so all that with my kids at home, and I was just going on fumes until the ambulance. So we never want to get to that point. But yes, I do some corporate wellness programs also, and there are ways to to give yourself some time away during the workspace. Even there are
Okay.
some exercises you can do in the workspace. There's some breathing exercises you can do. There is
Oh, cool.
like I love that. Yeah. So there are some exercises you could do with breathing. There, you can find a friend to walk with. Do a walking meetings. There are so many things to get moving, active, and during the day that you could shift things around. Put a plan in your
Mhm.
office if you're allowed to do that. If you don't have a window, otherwise looking out the window is super important. There are so many things that you can do in the space of your workday that can ease any struggles or tension you may be having at work. Because you know what, it's not easy. You can't avoid stress. It's just how you deal with it that matters.
How you
So
deal with it? Yeah. Good point.
yeah, and you're always going to have stress. And listen, work isn't always rosy. Even if you love your job, there may be just one person there that aggravates you. You might, or something that happens. It's never a
Mhm.
perfect situation, but you can, like I always say, I do ergonomics with people. I say, okay, how is your desk laid out? Are you struggling? Are you always stretching, straining to reach something, and have like neck pain, back pain at the end of the day because of your work, or the things you can do to make your workspace better? Do you need a footrest? Do you need a rest for your wrist on the computer? You put something in a
Wow.
different place so you're not always twisting, so it's more accessible to you. There are a lot of things you could do to make your work more
Just more.
user friendly for
Yeah.
yourself, more user friendly for yourself. So it's a more pleasant experience, even if it's not always that way.
Great.
I love those little tips.
Yeah.
So, being that you are a culinary nutritionist as well, is there something about the balance of our food as well that could be impacting our businesses?
Absolutely. I go to a lot of networking, and it's funny when you walk in, there's the bagels and the muffins, and I'm like, come on, people, you're eating this. It's sugar. You get sugar levels going to go up so fast. It's going to shoot up, and it's going to drop quickly.
Yeah.
And all
Crash.
you're going to do is take a
Yeah.
nap at your desk. It's not. So you're not. It's not productive. So we have to think in more of terms of nutritional productivity, things that are going to give us better focus. In the morning, maybe that's oatmeal. Some people can't have oatmeal. Maybe it's just some fruit or, whatever, or an egg, whatever it happens to be. Just, focus on more balance and less processed carbs and that type of thing. That's
Mhm.
anything that's not, or even if you want like, like nut butter and or something on, on an apple, that's a lot better for you than, just the bagel or muffin or,
The
pound
bagel
cake.
or something.
Yeah. Because there's nothing in there. It's not giving you anything. Listen, if you enjoy that once in a while, I'm a big fan of balance in everything. So balance in food and things too. Like so, and I teach people mindful
Great.
eating as well. So if somebody really wants a bagel, they're going to eat everything else because they're saying, "Oh, I can't have the bagel, can't have the bagel," and then they could still want the bagel at the end. So have the freaking bagel and just have it, get over it, enjoy
Yeah.
it, eat it mindfully, and that's it, and be over it. And I guarantee you, when people start to eat like that, I always tell my clients, "Oh, yeah, when you're never going to get through the whole bagel or whatever." They don't believe me, and then they call me and say, "Oh my, I can't believe it! I didn't eat the whole bagel, or I had a piece of cake and that's all I wanted. I didn't have the whole thing. I only had a couple of forkfuls." There's something called the 3-bite rule, which I think is very funny. I see people talk about it like, "Oh, you count your bites," and I'm like, when you do that, first of all, you're taking yourself out of your mind, and mindfulness is so important in everything. When you take yourself out of your head and you're doing this, you're thinking about 1 2 3. It's like, where's the enjoyment in your food if you're
Yeah.
counting? I always say to people, think about what you're eating, think about the food that you're ingesting, where it came from, who made it, how it was grown, whatever it is. Just put some thought into what it tastes like, what spices, try and guess what's in there, and eat it like that and really enjoy it. And I guarantee you'll never and it's true. My clients are always amazed that they don't feel like they have to finish everything on their plate anymore. They eat to how they feel, and that's the way it should be, instead of
That's
restricting
amazing.
to eat all the time.
Mm.
I
So,
wonder if what I do is that.
you wonder if what was it?
Well, I was gonna say it's not. I don't think I call it mindful eating. I'm actually sure I don't. But I do I do feel like Tammy shared. If I want the bagel, I personally find that in having it now, if I decide to have it, I don't beat myself up about it, and I'm mindful about how I talk to myself through the process of eating the bagel. I remember
Mhm.
before I would scold myself a lot.
Mm.
Oh, you shouldn't be eating this. And it I mean, I'm not going to say every time it would ruin it, but I just recognize how I talk about the things I eat can affect my gut health. So like literally, as if I find that if I'm talking poorly about food, I will have. You know, you and I've had this before about the whole not irritable bowel syndrome. Finding our
Lactose?
lactose intolerance. Thank you. Yes, and I made my argument. I know for you it's your truth, but for myself, I found that I kept talking myself into being more lactose intolerant, and I've since regressed from that because I don't tell myself that I am anymore. But for whatever reason, I was. So just that whole idea of talking to yourself as you're eating. I don't know if that's mindfulness or if
Yeah.
that's the same. Oh, it is. Okay, okay. I didn't
Absolutely,
know.
absolutely. You know what? And it's
Okay.
funny how hard we are on ourselves about things,
Very
and it
much
only
so.
makes things
Yes.
worse.
Yes.
You know, when the body's
Yeah.
under stress, like people who do marathons, Ironmans, things like that, they don't
Hmm.
eat food. You can't eat food because your body's under so much stress. They don't realize exercise is a stressor, right? So exercise is a stressor, and when you try and eat, you can't digest your food. It's not going to happen. That's why they eat that goo and stuff, because it has to be something that
Oh
goes through
yes, 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 yes,
quickly,
yes,
instant
yes.
sugar, right?
Sucked
Goes
in.
through the
Yeah.
system quickly. You couldn't have, like you're not going to sit and eat meatballs and spaghetti or something like that. So it's like
Hmm.
when you're stressed and when you're not so you could be even when you're stressed in life. You don't have to be on a marathon or whatever, but if you're stressed in life and you're trying to eat, you're not going to absorb those nutrients properly. You're going to get probably a little bit of bloating. You may get a little what they call agita, right?
Hmm.
Reflux, things like that, because you're not digesting your food well.
That is
Wow.
so interesting. I feel like this has been my life recently. I was really stressed out, and like I felt like I was eating some of the foods that I normally eat, and all of a sudden it was like causing I
All the
was
things.
really
Yeah.
bloated, and just like it just wasn't sitting in me well. And so now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh man, I wonder if it was because I was in this period of like heightened stress, and it was just that's what was happening. My body was like, nope, not today or tomorrow while you're stressed.
Right, right. It's just a matter, like I said, of being mindful. When you're mindful of that, you can say, okay, and you can adjust, because that's finding ease in your post. Because right now, this is not, a good thing for you. So maybe
Just
tomorrow, but right now you recognize that, hey, this may not be the best thing, for me. But so
well,
mindfulness is good.
I'm super curious
okay.
about,
And
and
tell me,
you
what
and
is
I,
it? Oh,
okay. Well, you and I have
no,
had private,
you can go. I'm gonna ask about that.
and those conversations, we've talked about how everyone is unique, and should like just because kale works for one person doesn't mean kale is going to necessarily work for another person.
Right.
However, I would love to hear some types of food that have, on most occasions, been known to be foods that help with like focus, maybe, or at least don't cause sluggish feelings. Maybe that. Like, what are the foods that like help with staying awake, giving energy, focus, anything like that? Are there some foods that are just better than others on average?
On average, yeah, if you start eating more, add more vegetables, like people like, because I'm plant based, and not everybody wants to be plant based. And my clients tell me when they start, oh, I heard you're vegan or vegetarian. I don't want to do that. And no, it's not. That's not good for you. It may not be good for you. I mean, it may, you may. I don't want you to cut everything out. That's not where we want to go. But adding more fruits and vegetables into your diet is never a bad idea. It's just it's
Yes.
just not a bad idea. So
Fair enough.
when you start doing that, like when you become more mindful, when you're cutting out more of the processed foods and adding more of veggies and fruits in there, and a
Whole
variety, so you
grain.
want to make sure, yeah, especially like the dark green leafies. You have Could like kale, or some spinach, or and you want to have them with oil. So there are vitamins that are oil soluble. A, D, E, and K fit into that category. So you want to make sure like extra, the really best olive oil you can get, throw on your salad. Throw in a little vitamin C, because that also helps with the absorption of nutrients. So they all work synergistically. So I like to do that. I like to like multitask with my vegetables and meals to make sure that I'm getting the maximum nutrition out of what I'm eating.
Fascinating. Does avocado oil count for that? Like, I love avocado.
On the general rule is like fruit oil's good, nut and seed oil's not, not as good. It has to do with like avocado, olive, coconut, grapeseed, but then you get into the corns and the vegetable oils, and those aren't so good. They're higher in omega-6s, and can cause inflammation. If you have too high in omega-6s and don't have omega-3s to balance it out, you're going to have inflammation in your body. Omega-6s are not, everybody thinks they're bad. I mean, you need those too, but you want to make sure you have a really good balance. So not getting them from oils is a good thing too. And whenever you can, eat the real fruit, and oils use more sparingly.
This is good.
What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a topic. So there's a lot of intermittent fasting out there. There's do 16/8, or some people do intermittent fasting where they skip a couple of days altogether. I'm definitely never in favor. First of all, intermittent fasting, if you do it and don't eat after a certain time and then go to sleep, you kind of fasted without really doing anything. So I hate. The term intermittent fasting is used a lot, and it's used sometimes like incorrectly. And then people started using intermittent fasting like they say, "Oh, I'm going to not eat because I ate something bad yesterday, so I have to fast."
Oh, yeah, cleanse my system. Yeah, I remember that.
No, it doesn't work that way. Just so that's why. When we talk about intermittent fasting, it's kind of like I'm more in favor of the stop eating at a certain time, which I guess technically, if you want to call it fasting, and then go to sleep and wake up, you're good. You fasted and you gave your body a rest. I mean, that's the thing really, is giving your body the rest to make sure that your cells rejuvenate. They call it, autophagy, when you get rid of the dead cells. And so you want to make sure that happens. And people who eat late at night, that's not going to happen. If you eat, more. That's why it's good to give your system a break. But I don't like
term? Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was the term?
People who eat like late at night.
Yes.
People, So if you're eating late at night, or people who like midnight snack, they eat, dinner, and then they have, after dinner, and then they're late night snacking. Yeah, that's a problem, because your body's always going, and you're putting your body under stress, and there's no way you can get a good night's sleep on that, because you can't digest. It's the same thing. Your body's under stress, right? When you can't digest and sleep at the same time. It's like one or the other. So eating before you go to bed is never a good thing, or continually eating. Yeah.
So then how long should somebody wait after they eat to go to bed?
It depends. It's, a couple of hours at least, just to let everything as much as possible empty out. And it depends on what you eat too, how long it takes to.
I've heard 2.5 hours is ideal.
Yeah. I go with that. That's why I said 2.5 hours is good.
I think, Winston, the term that you were asking for, she said autophagy. I've also heard it called autophagy.
Autophagy, yeah. It depends on how you pronounce it.
Yeah, how you pronounce it. Tomato. But it's, for those uninitiated, it's basically when the body starts to like kill off cells that are not helpful. So like fat cells, not helpful. They're not really helping things happen. Maybe even virus cells, like, hey, this isn't really helping the body function. Let's get rid of this. Or some have even identified cancerous cells, right? Because they don't really help us either.
The body renews all the time. So the cells, it's a turnover. And it just depends on how healthy we are, how fast that process occurs. Yeah. So
but
I don't want to get too deep in the science of it, but yeah.
No. Because I was watching a video from Diary of a CEO, or the YouTube channel, and there was a woman he had on, and they were having the conversation around muscle and how much of an important role muscle plays as we get older, and they had an MRI scan of. And I believe these were people who used to be athletes, and in some sense, they still maybe work out or are active now. But they were showing how if you are immobile, and they were talking about something as someone who has an average job, very sedentary, how your muscles start to essentially turn to fat and marbleize, almost like
Uh-huh.
meat, or exactly like meat, around your bone. And they were
Oh,
showing a person who essentially doesn't basically, again, it's not like this person was significantly overweight, but they just sat a lot for their normal job, and they were showing their muscle. Oh man! All right, let me finish this.
Uh-huh.
No, because I really want to hear Tammy's take on this. So they were showing their muscle, and they were showing a person again who worked out, walked the average thing, and their muscle looks like a lean. They call it lean muscle mass, but it looks like a good piece of steak that you would have. And a person now who didn't, how it essentially looked like a very fatty, overly fat piece of meat. But our human bodies do essentially do these things. In your program, are you? I know you mentioned that you yourself work out. Are you designing programs for people in addition to just the nutrition information? I'd love to hear more about how you kind of design a program in terms of, for like, again, the work-life balance. Hey, I can't get to the gym. What are
yes.
some of the things you're having a conversation with people? Because I used to hear that all the time. And again, it really took somebody being told by a doctor, hey, if you don't go to the gym, if you don't find 30 minutes, you are not going to make it the year. And I don't think that's the conversation you should be having to have with a doctor. So in overtime, I'd love if you could kind of walk us through what a program, or not, maybe not give too much away, but some sense of like what a program or something like that that you design looks like. Okay.
Okay.
And before we jump off, I just want to make sure we can connect people with you. So here's your IG. Janelle always says.
She's a real person. Please reach out to her. She will respond back to you.
I'm happy to
There's
chat
hope.
about that in the next segment. I
Oh,
do have a special system that I use to determine how
I
I work
love
with
it.
people. And,
I love it.
I did lose 120 pounds myself, and I was an EMT as well as a scientist in my former life. So I have a lot of interesting ways that I set
Perfect.
people up to be successful.
Perfect. All right. So, guys, if you want to hear the rest of what Tammy's about to drop, the tea, you got to make sure you click on the link, Patreon, and you will get all of the rest of this over there. But for everyone else, we'll see you next time. Remember, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that.
We'll see you guys.